I honestly cannot believe I was not doing this 10 years ago. It has been the biggest game changer for me, and it's just so simple. That's why I'm so stoked to share it with you guys today.
Can't be contained.
That's what I'm talking about. What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the Can't Be Contained podcast. You know, I have been really getting so, the word I want to use is deliberate. I think there's such a powerful energy around the word deliberate. One of my clients, actually, Michelle, we were on a one-to-one and she used the word deliberate and as she was explaining something, and my whole body was like, oh, that's so good. Right? There's discipline, which is like I have the discipline to, get up on time, but being deliberate has this additional fuel of energy. And my experience of like, I commit to being deliberate, right? Being deliberate with the words that I say, being deliberate with the plans that I say yes to and no to. There's a deliberate nature that we bring to life. And I believe the quality of our life comes down to how deliberate we really are. And so in 2024, Eric and I sat down and we went through our 2024 travel. And I'm like, babe, that was crazy. Like, that was insane. It really, travel's so epic and so amazing, but it does messes with your vibe. It messes with, like, it takes, you got to prep for the trip, but then go on the trip and then come home. And it's like, there's just a lot of like wasted time, and time is our greatest currency, our time and our energy. And so this year I am being so much more deliberate with just like the things that I'm saying yes to, the things that I'm saying no to, and it's just like, yeah, less. This year for me, 2025, is all about doing less. I want to do less speaking gigs, but I just want to do better speaking gigs. I want to have less products in my business, but I want them just to be like the best ones. I want to do less marketing strategies and just double down on the best ones. And so this year for me is really about simplicity, quality. My word of the year is iconic. I really want to go back to just like creating like dope, freaking epic content that lights my soul up. This podcast, Instagram, my stage talks, like just content that I'm like, dang, I would love to be an audience member for that. Like, that's kind of like my gauge of like, is something good? I'm like, would I listen to this? Is the quality of this content good enough that I would take time out of my day to do that? And if someone's, you, for instance, listening to this podcast, like if you're investing your time into following me on Instagram or subscribing to this podcast or coming to one of my live talks or investing in one of my offers, I'm like, I want it to be iconic. I want you to be like, wow, that was legendary. That wasn't just like, oh, that was really sweet or that was really motivating. It's like, how can we up the ante of being iconic? And I know for myself personally, as like a buyer or a consumer of content, I kind of just scroll past through the things that have like already been done, And this year I've committed myself to having the spaciousness to create iconic content, not just content that's like, oh, that's nice. So that's one of my things. I'd love to know what one of your things are. I love getting DMs from you guys in Instagram. So come on over and say hello. Another big thing is being so compassionate with myself this year. That's like another big theme coming into January. We're kind of heading into like the second week of January here, and compassion. And I kind of was reflecting and journaling on what are the things that I'm like hard on myself for. And it's so simple and so silly, but like one of the biggest things is like taking too long to respond back to text messages. And I just had this experience of last year of like being like, oh, I got to do that, or I got to get back within 24 hours. And I'll be honest, it's just like not possible. And if I do hit that sort of like KPI, I end up sacrificing something like being on my phone all day long, And so how can I have compassion for myself to go, you know what? It doesn't have to be done in 24 hours and 48 hours. In fact, like I'll do it at a time where I can be deliberate and intentional about, I'm going to respond to this text message unless it's urgent and the house is burning down, which is like never the case. But I can be deliberate about responding to this text message, and I'm going to give myself grace to do it in a time where I'm not just rushing through it and giving a half-assed response. I'm actually taking time to like be deliberate about responding to that text message. And so what are the things going into 2025? Are you like, I'm going to give myself grace for that. I'm going to give myself grace for whatever it is, we live in such a busy, fast-paced world constantly, and it's so important for us to go against the grain. It's so important for us to slow down in a world that says speed up constantly. It's so important for us to, take a pause when the world's like, don't rest or else you will die. It's so important for us to like get off our freaking phones and consume life rather than a screen. Like I really believe that my competitive advantage going into 2025 is less screen time and really treating my attention like the greatest currency on this planet. Like I truly believe that's one of my greatest advantages, and it's everyone's greatest advantage because like like hours on a phone equate to like us being dum-dums or us like not being present in our life or us having, you know, like with Eric and I, it's like if he's upstairs, like on our second floor, which is like a loft that overlooks our first floor, and he's talking to me and I'm on my phone, like I'm not really paying attention to him. And he's asking me something. He's like waiting for a response. I'm like, yeah, Egan, this is that. And it's like, that's not the way I choose to communicate. I want to be a deliberate communicator. I want to be where my feet are at all times. And I want to, like, if I'm on my phone and I'm paying attention to my phone, I'm not doing anything else. I'm doing that one thing. If I'm recording a podcast and I'm hanging out with you guys, I'm doing that one thing. Like, be where your feet are in 2025. That's what I'm doing. All right, I'm really excited to record this episode. I'm so freaking excited to record this episode. Like, this has been something that I've been talking with my breathwork facilitator students about, my mastermind clients about. It's been a lot of what I've been teaching at my retreats, and I'm stoked to share it with you guys. Let's get started. Yo, quick question for you. Have you ever felt that feeling inside of your body like, there's something more to life? Like, yes, your life is great, but there's this little voice inside of you that's like, there's something else that my soul is meant to be doing. Maybe you're literally crushing it as a life coach, helping clients shift their mindsets, but deep down, you know that you're only scratching the surface. What you really desire is to take your clients deeper. You want to ultimately take yourself deeper. That's exactly why I want to tell you about the Pause Breathwork Facilitator Training. This is our 6-month journey that doesn't just teach you how to lead powerful breathwork sessions. It helps you heal your self-doubt, step into your confidence, and truly build a business doing the work that actually lights you up. This training is done fully online, so you can do it from the comfort of your own home. Do it wherever you are. And here's the best part. It doesn't just stop at breathwork techniques. There's a full-on business accelerator that's actually built into the program. So you'll know exactly how to attract clients, host retreats, and even bring breathwork into corporate spaces. If you've been feeling stuck, or you're not living up to your true potential, this is your sign. Head on over to www.pausebreathwork.com/facilitator. That's pausebreathwork.com/facilitator. And I would love to mentor you into your greatness. All right, guys, let's get back into today's show. All right, so what if I told you that the life that you're living right now is a direct result of your thoughts, not just your mindset, but also the energy and emotions in your body? If you guys know me, you know that it's a classic 80-20 rule, right? 20% is the mind, 80% is the body and energy and emotions. And today, we're really going to be diving deep into the neuroscience and spirituality behind how thoughts actually shape our reality and why focusing on mindset alone is limiting. We have to have both. I started my career off as a mindset coach, and I realized like, wow, that's only 20% of the whole pie. I have to get into the body and clear my energy, clear my trauma, heal my stuff so that I can get back to a place of wholeness. And so today's episode is about the amalgamation of both mindset and body, because they're so linked, of course, right? So my intention for you after you listen to this episode is to bridge the gap between science and spirituality, really understand from a scientific reason why it's so important to babysit your thoughts and defend your thoughts, right? Thoughts are literally like electrical impulses. Every thought creates a neural pathway in the brain. Every single thought, every single one creates a neural pathway, right? We have this concept called neuroplasticity, which our brain changes, right? It's our brain's ability to rewire itself based on repetitive thought and experiences, right? Joe Dispenza talks a lot about this. I attended one of his retreats and I really got to feel that sense of it. When we repeat a thought, what is that quote he said? Neurons that fire together, wire together, right? Or I don't know if that was his quote, but someone said that. I think Tony Robbins also said that. But basically, like when we think the same shit over and over and over and over again, it creates a pathway in the brain. So it's automatic. It's like, I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy. And what that does in the mind is it creates that energy in the body of I am not worthy. I am not worthy. I am not worthy. We're vibrating at that reality. And what we know to be true is our energy is creating reality moment by moment by moment. So that thought is so dang expensive. Like that thought is literally so expensive. When we do not defend our thoughts, if we ignore them, we store them. We store them in our bodies. And then what that thought is doing is it's creating a electrical impulse in your body. And that electrical impulse, that energy is creating reality when you're sleeping. So why not catch the thoughts? Why not do it in advance, right? Every thought triggers a release of chemicals in the body, right? Dopamine, cortisol, or all sorts of things. And it influences your emotional state. I was in the sauna last night. And yesterday was like a very hard day at work because there's so many moving parts at the moment, and I'm making some really big hires, and the team is shifting slightly, and there's just a lot of variables and a lot of uncertainty at the moment, which is a great thing because we're growing and it needs to happen, and it always is like this. But yesterday I was in the sauna and I was just noticing this thought. I was in the sauna, meditating, and this thought was like, the thought was something along the lines of like, you're making too many decisions all at the same time. And then the next thought was, and it's feeling wobbly, it's feeling shaky. You need to slow down. You need to pull back. And it's funny because the things that this thought was telling me to do is so not true. It's like, I absolutely know in my heart the decisions that I'm making for pause right now are exactly what needs to happen in order to grow the mission, in order to support our students more, it's just like, it's all amazing things. It's just uncertain. It's just a lot at the same time. And so immediately I caught the thought. I was like, stinking thinking. We are not playing that. Homie does not play that game today. We are not doing that today. And I caught it and I was like, what's the truth? The truth is everything is happening perfectly in perfect timing. Like, I'm excited to share the story of this phase that I'm in after this phase is a little bit done and complete, because it is actually wild. It's a wild thing. And you guys are going to refer back to this podcast and remember this part. But yeah, there's just like, God is working in my life right now in a way where I'm like, stop it. I can't even make this shit up anymore. And so, but there's uncertainty, there's unknown, there's a lot of like, wow, this was so certain for so long, this thing. And now that thing is no longer. And there's a new thing that's happening. And whenever there's uncertainty, our brain can so easily go to worst case scenario. And I noticed that last night in the sauna. And I just went to, no, wait a second. Like, this is incredible. Everything is happening for me in perfect timing. I'm at the exact right place. This person came into my life at the exact right time. This is the perfect thing for pause right now. And I just kept like creating momentum, right? Right? Creating momentum. And what happens is when we do that, there's a part of our brain that I always screw up this word, hypothalamus. Hypothalamus. There's like certain words like that word and a restaurant. Sometimes I say restaurant, right? But anyways, it sends signals to the body based on our thought patterns, right? It creates physical sensations, that mechanism in our body. Someone DM me and give me the accurate pronunciation of that word. As I was this is like self-fulfilling prophecy. As I was recording this podcast and like going into it, I'm like, I'm going to say that word wrong. And look, I said that word wrong. But how'd I go, I'm going to say that word right, chances are I would have said that word right. I think it's pronounced hypothalamus, but someone please correct me because that might not be right. But anyways, the hypothalamus is what sends signals to the body, right? And that creates patterns. It creates physical sensation, which of course is tied to emotion. And so if there's a false thought and a false sensation, which creates a false emotion. The emotion feels real, but the story tied to the emotion is not. Then we really create a shitty environment for ourselves. We create a hellish cage for ourselves, and we can convince ourselves like that's true, that's real, and it's just not true, right? So when we think I am not enough, the rectiliar activating system, it'll just like find reasons for why that's true, right? It's like, I'm not good enough. Let me find all the reasons why you're not good enough. That's the RAS, rectiliar activating system. That's what it does in our brain. It's like, well, you're not good enough because in grade 2, someone said that you're not good enough. You're not good enough because in grade 9, you wore a sweatshirt that everyone made fun of. That actually happened to me. I was wearing this like Gap sweatshirt and it was highlighter yellow and it was like a very bright yellow. I thought it was really cool, but everyone's like, what a loser. And I'm obviously sharing that, so it's still in there. Or when I was 11, I asked my mom to get a buzz cut. I like shaved the back of my head all the way up and I had this like really boy haircut. I thought it was the coolest thing ever, but everyone made fun of me and that's still in there too, right? So there was those feelings of like, you don't fit in, your clothes suck, whatever it is. And it's like, when that's the story, that part of us, the rats, it's just going to find evidence as to why that's true, right? So it's so important as we're having these thoughts in our mind, we adapt the observer. If you're one of our pause breathwork certified facilitators, you know we teach something called identification versus observation. Do not identify with thoughts. Don't identify with them. If you have a thought, ask yourself, is this actually true? And observe the thought. Like, create spaciousness between the observer and the thought. Let me observe these thoughts. Just because they're in your head, it doesn't mean they're true. Don't identify with them. So every thought that you have, ask yourself, am I going to take this on because it is aligned with where I'm going? Or am I going to dismiss it, defend it, say thank you, no thank you? Thank you, no thank you. Thank you, no thank you. Don't like resist it like, I don't want to think that. I don't want to think that. Just say no thank you. Like, that's not for me. No thank you. Right? Here's the limitations of mindset work alone, right? We have to, thoughts live in the mind, but emotions and trauma are stored in the body. So we'll think a thought and it will activate an emotion in the system. Well, we don't have to just change the thought. We have to actually feel into the antidote of the emotion. So let me give you an example. If the thought is, you're not good enough, it's going to kick up energy. I'm not good enough. So not only do we have to go, I am good enough, we have to pair that with the energy, I am good enough. I am good enough. I am good enough. And really anchor it in, because if the body is still vibrating to the tune of I am not good enough, and we change our mind without changing our body, we are still going to have unresolved trauma in our system, and that thought's going to come back, and it's going to come back. I don't know why this song is in my head right now, but it's like, the cat came back the very next day. The cat came back the very next day. Right? The unresolved trauma just comes back. It comes back. It comes back. It comes back. It comes back. So we have got to change the energy in the body as well as change the mind. It works together. We can't have one without the other. No, no, no. Anyway, I don't even know if that's the same song, right? So we have this mind-body connection, which is so important, right? We know this from the work of Dr. Bessel van der Kolk, the body keeps a score, right? Past experiences are stored in the body. All those past experiences are stored in the body. So if we do not feel them to heal them, they're going to stay stuck. So no matter how much mindset stuff we do, they're going to stay stuck. So we have to find a different pathway for the mind to focus on. And then we have to feel it in the body, right? Guys, everything is energy. Thoughts carry a vibrational frequency that interacts with the world around us, right? I don't know if you're familiar with Dr. David Hawkins and his vibrational scale of emotions, like love and fear. Like, we have access to all of those at all time, and we can literally create it in our body. I was on a one-to-one call with one of my mastermind clients, and I was instructing her to tap into her like earth wisdom energy in the system. And I just pointed to it. I'm like, yo, you have this. Connect to the earth, get into that like medicine woman earth like vibration. And like within minutes, she was just there fully embodied in it. We have the ability to activate these energies in our system. We just have to do it, right? So there needs to be this spaciousness again between the observer and the actual thought, right? Because if we think that we are our thoughts, we're going to get so lost in it. And I know this is going to be a shock for everybody, but honestly, breath work is such an insanely powerful tool to create that separation, to go, wait a second, that thought is not mine. It's was passed down to me. It's from society. It's just, I picked it up in this grocery store that I'm on. This thought is not mine, right? Even there's a breath pattern that we do at pause. If you're unfamiliar, it's called the triactive breath, which is into the belly, up into the chest, out through the mouth. Even if we do that for 3 minutes and then hold our breath at the top, and squeeze, 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 squeeze. It allows everything to drop, to fall away. And we land in this place of just like openness and ease. And not only does our mind quiet down, but we have so much spaciousness from the gripping of our thoughts. Right? Somatic healing is also a really powerful way to do this. I don't know if you've ever had a somatic coaching session or just done some like really deep body-based work. There's a feedback loop between the body and the mind, right? So oftentimes the thoughts that get kicked up on the mind are from the body, but then the body or the mind also gives, information to the body. So it works in unison. And so when we can really get into those deeper layers and heal those like archaic stories of I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, I'm not this, I'm not that, it quiets down the mind, right? Another beautiful one is visualization, like visualizing once that thought comes in of, oh, you're going to screw this up. You're making too many decisions at the same time. No, dismiss that and visualize, what is it that I desire? What is it that I want? What would feel so good, right? And another thing I love doing is like being grateful for things that haven't happened yet. I'm so glad that I hired this person and they're crushing it in the business. I'm so glad that when we focused on getting rid of all of our offers except for our main thing, that it just simplified the business and made it more fun, more exciting. I'm so glad that like being grateful in advance is so powerful. And then any sort of rituals, like I love, you guys have probably seen this in my loft in my house, but I have my red light. I have my little meditation set up. I have my little sound bowl, my journal. And I just like, whenever I'm feeling like I need a tune up, I just go there. I sit there. That's my ritual. I remember, and not that I remember, this was last night. I remember last night. Last night, Eric was like, hey, I'm just finishing up work. Would you mind making me some dinner? I'm like, yeah, no problem. And I went into the kitchen and I was like, I feel like shit. Like I told you guys already, like yesterday was just like a really intense day. I'm like, I don't feel that good. And I'm like, I want to leave work behind. I want to get into like wife mode. I want to get into creation mode. I want to get into like nourishing my husband and like not having like to think about work. So I went up to my little like ritual pad and I put on my red light and I just breathed and I just went into that question of like, what is it that I'm visualizing? What is it that I'm manifesting? What it like be grateful in advance. And I had that ritual and it was just, it's so epic. As a recap, your thoughts are so powerful. And when we take the time to choose our thoughts deliberately, they create an energetic field in our body. And that energetic field is giving information to the universe without us even doing anything. It's creating momentum, it's creating reality. And the question is, where are you directing it? Because you can direct it to like heaven on earth, and you can direct it to this epic place, or you can direct it to hell on earth. And the choice is yours always. Always, 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 always. The choice is yours always. And so be deliberate about your thoughts. Get clear about your vision of like, who am I becoming? What is that vision? And what are the thoughts that are congruent with that vision? We did this funny thing in the Life Mastermind today where I was like, yo, you guys, if you have a stinking thing in thought, just take your hands, massage your head. Like give yourself a little head massage and say, no, thank you. And then choose a better thought. And even like the action of giving yourself a head massage and saying no thank you and choosing another thought, like getting into that little ritual is so important. The ROI on this work is gigantic. Gigantic. When I think of my growth as a business owner, as a leader, as a speaker, like growing in my health, growing in my wealth, it comes down to this: being so disciplined and deliberate with my thoughts and shifting them in real time. You guys, I'm so excited for you to experience this. Let me know on Instagram if this was helpful for you. If you can do me a favor, it would mean the freaking world to me if you could review this podcast. Let me know that you love it. Let me know what more you want. Let me know what less you want. Just let me know how you're loving this podcast. It's such a joy to be able to give you guys this information and just be with you once a week and just like share what's on my heart. So thank you. This podcast has been going for like 7 years now, and it's just the freaking best. And some of my like favorite moments are when I'm at conferences and events, and I get to meet you guys and you share about how impactful the show's been. So if it's been impactful for you, it would mean the world to me if you shared it, reviewed it. That would be so epic. Thank you so much. And we'll see you next week. I love you guys.
Can't be contained.